It is a distinct pleasure and privilege to be with all of you this evening at this wonderful center that I have been hearing about even while I was still here in Australia. I was in touch with Sheikh Ziyad, and he was keeping me abreast of all of the work that he was doing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his efforts and the coming together of all of you to help build and lay the foundation for this institution. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide it with His divine protection from all evils. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide it with great and beautiful growth and increase its benefit for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The human being is but a product of his or her environment. Whatever we are exposed to, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually, is what we become. If we breathe a certain kind of air, our organs and internal functions are going to respond in a specific way to that kind of air. And so a person becomes accustomed to a certain climate and a certain constitution of elements within the air. Their body becomes acclimatized to that, and if they suddenly move to another type of environment, ask me, coming from North America to here, what a huge adjustment for the body. And it was all about the air. The plants, the pollen, the different constituents that we don't see but are having a direct impact on us is one indication that the environment we keep ourselves in has a direct impact on us. There was a great Sheikh Muhammad Yusuf Kandalwi rahimahullah. He was a great da'i and a great muhaddith. A group of ulama came to him and they said that we have seen many scholars of great academic and intellectual caliber. We have seen people of very advanced stages of spiritual development. We have seen great da'is and mujahids striving for the cause of Allah. We haven't seen anyone like you. What makes you so different? It seems like you have the qualities of all of those great luminaries that we have seen and those great leaders that we have seen. It seems like you've encompassed everything of everyone's. How? You're just one person. And the Shaykh had this, and I've met people who had the opportunity to sit in his company. And they said we would come, when we first came to him and sat with him, we were very, very far from deen, but spending an hour in his company, the condition of our heart changed. So when these shuyukh are having this conversation with him, he said, no, this is not me that you're seeing. This has nothing to do with me. I am a product of this environment, this place that I am at. That's what makes me like that. It's not me at all. The environment that I have grown up in and I was kept in, and the environment that nurtured me, and the environment that continues to nurture me and develop me and protect me, that's what you're actually seeing. And he said that if I were to leave this environment and go somewhere else, I would not be the Yusuf that you know today. I would also become someone else. Abu Darda radiallahu anhu requested Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu permission to move to Sham. So Umar radiallahu anhu said that I'll give you permission on one condition, and that is that you will become my amil, you will become my governor there. Abu Darda said, sorry, not interested. I don't want to get involved in that stuff. So Umar radiallahu anhu said that, okay, in that case I can't give you permission. Because inside Umar radiallahu anhu wanted to keep him very close to him. Then Abu Darda radiallahu anhu counter-offered. He said, okay, I'll accept your condition if you accept some conditions of mine. So Umar radiallahu anhu said, okay, what are those conditions? He said two things. Number one, wherever I go, I will be the imam of the local masjid. Wherever you send me, I will be the official appointed imam. Number one. Number two, I will have authorization to teach people. To teach people the sunnah. Why did he say this? Because he knew that when a person gets involved in administrative and political affairs and the affairs of the state, then their duties and responsibilities not only completely occupy them, but they take them one place, one day they're here, another day they're here, they're constantly moving around. And as far as salat is concerned, they'll pray wherever they are. They have no choice. But he wanted to design his life in such a way that no matter what was going on, he had to stay close to the masjid because he was the appointed imam. What are you going to do with the imam? The governor, you can move him around. But the imam of the masjid is the imam of that masjid. So he wanted himself to be locked in so that even if the affairs of the state were pulling him away, he could not be pulled away from the house of Allah. The second thing was, they did not learn deen and become so senior in deen to manage administrative affairs. Their ultimate mandate was to spread the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that was something they could not give up. They saw this massive ummah that had come into Islam. Who is going to take care of them? If we, the ones who learned directly from the Prophet ﷺ, are not continuing that legacy, then what's going to happen with this next generation? So that sense of duty and responsibility led Abu Darda radiallahu anhu to stipulate these two conditions. Umar radiallahu anhu agreed to him and sent him off. Now 1 year passes. Umar radiallahu anhu says to his servant Yarfa, let's go see the people we've sent. Let's go check up on them. And without any announcement, Umar radiallahu anhu leaves, and he arrives there at Damascus in the evening. And as soon as it's dark, he says, let's go Yarfa. Let's leave, let's go and check up on the people that we have appointed to responsibilities here. Now, before visiting the first person, he tells his companion that this fellow, when we knock on his door, he will not allow us in until we identify ourselves. And when we do go in, you will see soft, lavish coverings on the floor, beautiful carpets. You'll see cushions laid out, people reclining on them, engaging in idle conversations. You'll see lamps burning there. And all of that will be at the expense of the state. So Umar goes to the first person, and when they knock, he said, who is it? They said, we'd like to come and see you. He says, no, you tell us who you are. And the conversation goes back and forth for a bit, and then Umar just barges in. And he sees them in the exact same state that he had described. And he reprimanded and rebuked that person. Is this what I have sent you for? This? Sitting around, idle talk. You're burning oil that was used in lamps was a precious commodity. It had to be used very carefully. So burning oil for the sake of conversations at night was considered a form of excess. Then Umar radiallahu anhu goes to the next person and he tells his servant that we're going to see the exact same thing there, and that's what happened. Then the third person, he tells him this is going to be the exact same scenario, and that's exactly what it was. None of these people were doing anything haram, by the way. Umar radiallahu anhu is just upset that you have so much time on your hands that you're just kind of hanging out at night. You have nothing more urgent to be occupied with. After this, he says, let's go see our brother Abu Darda. And then he tells Yarfa that when you go to his house, you don't need to identify yourself to enter. Anyone can enter his house. You won't see any lamps on. And the floor will be of stone. And he is going to be hunched up in a corner with this thin sheet over him. And he has this old leather bag that he uses for his luggage. That's going to be his pillow. And he's just going to be huddled up in a corner in this thin sheet. Watch. So when they get to his house, they see that the door's not even locked. So he just touches it and the door opens. Pitch black inside. The floor is cold stone. You can't see. What's going on here? The house is completely bare. And so they're groping around, groping, feeling on the floor. Umar radiallahu anhu makes his way over to someone that he feels that thin sheet in his hands, and he starts groping around. He feels that leather bag, and there is Abu Darda in the exact situation that Umar radiallahu anhu described. And Abu Darda radiallahu anhu knows that there's only one person who could come into my house like this and be groping around looking for me like this. So he calls out into the dark, "Is it Amirul Mu'mineen?" He said, "Yes." He says, "At last, I've been waiting for you for 1 year. Where were you all this time? I've missed you so much." Umar radiallahu anhu says, "Abu Darda, didn't I give you a salary? Something to buy things to furnish your house? Didn't I give you this? Didn't I provide you this? Didn't I provide you this? What are you doing?" Abu Darda radiallahu anhu simply responded by saying, "Oh Amirul Mu'mineen, do you remember what condition the Prophet ﷺ left us in? Do you remember how we were in the time of the Prophet ﷺ?" He says, yes, I do. He says, "Now what did we become after that? What did we do?" And both broke down and started crying and remembering and reminiscing about those times of the Prophet ﷺ. Now look at the difference between this person and all the other persons. This one designed and maintained and cultivated his own environment. The others just went, they were sent off, they went, and okay, fine. We'll do whatever is needed and we'll work with whatever environment we have. But this one said, no, wherever I go, I have to guard myself. And the most intelligent Muslim is the one who controls and designs the environment even before he gets to it. He pre-plans. He does not take the risk of exposing himself to an environment that is going to compromise who and what he is. That is going to force him to negotiate on matters of deen, on matters of akhlaq, on matters of ethics. If you sit with people on their terms, in their environment, you have no leverage. You are now at their mercy. They can now mold you into whatever they want to. So the first environment that needs to be cultivated and designed and protected, the very first, think of it as layers or concentric circles. This is the first circle. The innermost circle is the environment between you and yourself. The environment that you keep yourself in on a day-to-day basis without external interactions, the time you spend by yourself, what does that look like? And like I said, environment is like the air that you breathe. When you drive to work, when you commute to work every day, there is an environment in your car. What is it? It could be an environment of listening to the news. Somebody is listening to a podcast. Another person is listening to the Quran. Another person is reciting the Quran. Somebody is doing the dhikr of Allah with their tongue. That's their environment. Now they are immersed in this environment for that 30-minute, 40-minute, 60-minute commute every day. This environment is nurturing them and nourishing them. Person comes home, no one's home. You can't say there's no environment. There is an environment. And this person is going to decide what that environment is going to be. If their first reaction is to switch on the TV, now whatever is on the screen dictates your environment. That is your environment. If he goes and prays, says, oh, I haven't finished my tilawat for today, sits down and starts reading the Quran, this is his environment. The most crucial environment is what we are surrounded with when we are alone. How am I using my gaze? Now no one is around. I can look at anything that I want. It's in the palm of my hand. But He knows, يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورِ. Allah Azza wa Jal knows the betrayal of the eyes. And He knows what the hearts are concealing, the evil intentions that arise. Whatever we expose our eyes to, our eyes are taking an effect from it. Whatever we expose our ears to, our ears are taking an effect, and it doesn't stop here. It goes directly to the heart. Whatever we saw with our eyes, it affected our eyes, and our eyes transferred that to the heart. The ears transferred it to the heart. Whatever we speak and say, it transfers to the heart. Whatever we think about and imagine, it gets transferred to the heart. This is the most important environment because this is your immediate environment. And if a person cannot control their immediate environment, they cannot control anything. Like one of the Salaf said, أَعْجَزُ النَّاسِ مَنْ عَجَزَ عَنْ سِيَاسَةِ نَفْسِ. The most incapable and incompetent person is the one who cannot even control and manage their own affairs, themselves. A person who has no control over themselves is not going to have control over anything else. If you can't influence yourself into making the right choice, do you think you're going to have an influence tomorrow on your spouse, on your children, on your family members? No. So this is the first layer, the first level of environment that needs to be cultivated. And because it's the environment of our immediate surroundings, it needs to be guarded very, very closely. We need to, I'm going to use this word over and over again, we need to design that environment. And there's no design without contemplation and reflection and planning. It's not just what am I exposed to right now. No, what will I be exposed to? I'm about to go into a shopping center. What will I be exposed to? Okay, I need to go because I have some needs that can be fulfilled from there. But I can't go in blind and naive. What am I going to face there? What things will I have to do? Because I can't control the environment of that whole shopping center, but I can control what's directly around me. In other words, I get to control what I look at, what I listen to. I get to control what I say. I get to control what I think. This is the most crucial environment. And if I can't do and manage what's happening here in this head, in this 1 foot of space, forget about the rest of the world. The taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not just a feeling that you get sometimes. The taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leads to an entire lifestyle. Because taqwa literally means that a person does whatever it takes to avoid the displeasure of Allah. Whatever it takes. So this was one level. The next level is the environment in our homes. This also must be designed. Just like we sit with our families and we plan how we're going to decorate our house, how we're going to set that room, what will the furniture look like, which furniture is going to go there, what is the layout going to be, what decoration pieces are going to go up, what color of curtains are going to be there, what color of rug is going to be there, what material is it going to be. We are constantly imagining how that house looks and feels when we go in. We plan it. Just like this, what will the level of iman be in my house? What type of language will be used in my house? What will the interactions be like? What type of akhlaq will my house have? It has to be designed. What will one morning in my house look like? Will it be a morning that starts with getting up and preparing for salah and doing the dhikr of Allah and then starting my day as the Prophet ﷺ taught me to? Or is my day going to look exactly like the day of my next door neighbor who has nothing to do with Islam? When I come home in the evening from work, what should I expect to see? What should I be doing and what can I expect my family members to be doing? Is it going to be a beautiful entry into the house with warmth and love, with salam and asking how we are and spending time together and uniting our hearts on beautiful things? Or are we just going to, I come home, I go into my room, I'm sitting with my device. My kids come home, they go into their rooms, they're on their device. Everyone eats when they feel like eating. No one knows what the other ate or how they ate, when they ate. This is also a life that people are living. Under the same roof, but increasingly in further and further and further isolation from one another. The environment of the home. What does salat time look like in my house? Salat time in every Muslim's house should look like this. Everyone leaves what they're doing and they go to pray. And the men, they go and pray in the masjid. The women stop their work. Whether they're cooking or cleaning or taking care of the kids or doing something of their own, doing some other task or chore. Salat time, everything comes to a standstill. Can you imagine a masjid, a place of worship such as this one, where adhan is called, then iqama is called, but someone is over there on their phone, someone's hanging out in the lobby, and someone is busy reading a book, and someone's doing something else, and it's time for salat. You say, no, that's unacceptable. وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. You must instruct your family about salah and create an environment of salah and remain consistent in it yourself. يَا بُنَيَّ أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. These are the things that are taught to children at a very young age. And children learn more from what they see than our instructions to them. We can instruct them all day. At the end of the day, they're going to do what they've seen, what the norms are that have been established. In many families, there is a rhetoric, there is a message that's conveyed, but then there's a culture within that family of how things are actually done. The children will follow the culture, the norm, the habit. The children will follow that which they're allowed to do as a matter of fact, not what they're stopped from doing as a matter of words. The parents yell and scream at them, but they let them get away with it. It means it's okay. Doesn't matter what the parents said, that's all put to one side. The fact that I got away with it is what matters. Parents are busy and doing this and this and this, and the time for salat comes, everyone stops, and there is no negotiation, there's no compromise on salah. That's what the child does. So we have to design our environments. And remember one thing, no house is perfect. But we all want our houses to become a reflection of the house of the Prophet ﷺ. We want our houses to become a reflection of the houses of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. In the hadith of Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ refers to a tribe of people, the Ash'ariyin. The Ash'ariyin accepted Islam initially right after the Battle of Khaybar. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu was amongst them. Right when the Battle of Khaybar concluded, the Ash'ariyin came, they accepted Islam. They went back to Medina with the Prophet ﷺ. In the hadith of Bukhari and Imam Muslim, in Sahih Muslim, there's a chapter about the Ash'ariyin. He says, Inni la a'rifu buyut al-Ash'ariyina bil-layl. I recognize the houses of the Ash'ari people at night, though I did not see them entering their homes in the day. Yani, I'm not familiar with their addresses, but I can tell which home belongs to a member of that tribe at night. How? Because of the recitation of the Quran coming from those houses. Look at that. Can you imagine? A people that stand out in the community because those houses are filled with tilawat of Quran at night. The environment of the house. And the environment of the house cannot be completed, cannot be designed, cannot be implemented by one individual. The husband and wife, the father and mother must be on the same page. They have to align themselves. They have to be in alignment. They have to be, both are going to have to compromise something. That's the reality of it. Sometimes the wife is the more religious one. She's more occupied with, the proper tarbiyah of the children, and she's more diligent. And the husband is being lazy. It hurts the entire household. Sometimes it's the opposite way, where the man is pushing. The wife is just not getting on board. He says, look, we have to minimize the screen time in our house. But she ultimately is the gatekeeper for that. She's not overseeing it. She doesn't care. The children have as much screen time as they want. He says, look, we should not be playing these types of videos and these types of movies in our house. And she refuses. Children come home, she's watching them. She can't leave her drama series. That's the environment. The environment is what's happening. The environment is not theory. The environment is not what we would like to happen, what we believe should happen. The environment is what's happening. That's the environment. That's what needs to change. And with a beautiful environment, beautiful things will come out. Every one of you who prays has experienced this, that your newborn child, as soon as they're able to start crawling, they will come and start mimicking your salat. They'll come and do sajda right in front of you. What is this? This is environment having a direct impact, far more profound than words and lectures and so on and so forth can ever have. And the challenge for you and I is that just like we design the environment in our home, we create and cultivate and monitor every aspect of the environment in the home, including our tone of voice, including the type of language we use, to design the environment for our children. And this is a tricky one. This is a challenging one. What that means is you as a parent are sitting down and thinking about what will my children potentially be exposed to in any given day. In any given day in their life, what will they be exposed to? What will they see? What will they hear? What will they speak? Who will they be speaking to? And then you take it upon yourself to try to give them the best environment that you possibly can. Give them exposure to the best things that you possibly can, and mitigate the exposure to harmful elements, whether that's harmful sights, whether that's harmful people, whether that's harmful messages coming in their ears, whether that's harmful interactions. Your job as a parent is to design that environment and give it to your child. It's not an easy thing. But this is where the mind of the child has to be, of the parent has to be. Because if the parent is not thinking about it, well, obviously the child cannot plan it for themselves. So what do? We throw our children into any and every environment and just say, yeah, they'll figure it out. They'll be fine. You know what? They will not be fine. You can have the best environment in the house, but if you are not going beyond that to think about what they're exposed to outside of the house, you know what? We are simply products of our environment. If they're spending most of the day outside and only a small portion of the day inside, you could have a house like Al-Hasan al-Basri or Junaid Baghdadi, but the fact is that's not where they're spending most of their time. They're spending most of their time out there. What does out there look like? If it's a school, what is that school? If it's friends, who are those friends? How do they speak? What are their values? What are their ethics? What does their salat look like? What do their akhlaq look like? We have to be ready to have that conversation with ourselves first and start taking some extent of accountability and responsibility. And the worst part of it, the worst scenario, is when we put our children into compromised environments outside, whether that means public schools, whether that means bad friends. We allow them exposure to all of those things, and then when they come home, there is no reversal of it. There is no balancing out. There is no counterweight on the other side. There is nothing to undo that. In fact, the house simply becomes an extension of that thing, because as soon as they come home, they're on their devices and off they go. So the house then becomes an extension of the outside environment. Are you following what I'm saying? Are you understanding what I'm saying? I'm not talking theory here. I'm talking about what's happening to us in real time. So the house becomes an extension of what's happening outside. It's damage upon damage. On top of that, the parents aren't paying attention because they're busy on their own devices. What are we leaving this up to chance? On the chance that maybe our children will be saved by some miracle? That's not how this works. We need to be occupied with what's happening outside the moment my child steps outside the house. Who are they meeting? What does their school day look like? Even if it's an Islamic school, who are they meeting in that school? Who are their friends in that school? What type of language? What type of tone of respect or disrespect are they learning from these friends? What activities are they doing with those people? And in any case and in every case, the home becomes the ultimate sanctuary for the child. It is pure, untainted. There is nothing there that could possibly corrupt or ruin or be detrimental in any way to the child. Not physically, not emotionally, definitely not spiritually. And then what happens? That the home becomes an extension of the good environment we've created for them outside. And the outside becomes an extension of the beautiful environment we've created inside. And in this way, we save our children from developing a dichotomy in their understanding, the separation of church and state, so to speak. That this is the life at home, but when I'm outside, that's when I'm really living. Because it's a different set of rules from when I'm out there, and a different set of rules from when I'm here. I only have to be good when I'm here. I only have to follow these rules. And then the rules eventually stop looking like rules. They start looking more like restrictions. It's just a series of restrictions. And the house starts feeling like a jail. Because outside you're free as a bird. And here is the only place where now you have to pray. You have to watch your language. Now there's a bedtime. Now there's only so much time you can spend on your devices. It seems like a jail. Why? Because the outside wasn't monitored. So the innermost circle is our environment when we are by ourselves. The circle outside that is the house. And the circle outside that is our broader life, our social interactions, our professional interactions. And remember, even us grown-ups, us adults, are impacted by our environment. Who we expose ourselves to, what we expose ourselves to, how we use our eyes and ears, who our friends and who our associates are. عن المرء لا تسأل وسل عن قرينه فكل قرين بالمقارن يشبه. Don't ask about people, ask about their friends. You want to find out about someone? Don't ask about him. Ask about who hangs around. Because everyone will only resemble, they will only be a reflection of who they hang around. المرء على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل. A man is on the path of his friend. Be careful who you take as your friends. مثل الجليس الصالح والجليس السوء كحامل المسك ونافخ الكير. These are all examples given in hadith. Good company and bad company. It's like hanging out with someone who deals with perfumes versus somebody who works the bellows in a blacksmith shop. The person who works with perfumes, maybe he'll gift you some. Maybe you can buy some from him. At the very least, you'll always get a pleasant smell from him. And the person working the bellows, well, either he's going to burn your clothes from the sparks that he is creating, or at the very least, when you sit with him, you're going to get this nasty smell of smoke. Environment, company, environment, company. That famous hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ tells us about a man of Bani Israel. He killed 99 people. Then he went to a pious man and said, look, I'm a serial killer basically. Is there any way back? He says, no, you've gone too far. He says, okay, fine, if I've gone too far, let me kill you too. Make it an even 100. He makes it an even 100. But inside, he still has the desire to change. So he goes to a scholar, he goes to a person of knowledge. He says, look, this is my case. I want to change. Is there a way back? He says, yes, there is a way back. It just requires one thing. And he told the man the same thing that we've been talking about. You are like this because of your environment, because of the place you live. That's where you've gotten all your habits and tendencies. You need to leave this place and go to such and such locality where there are nice people, good people, righteous people. You stay with them, you will change, you will become righteous. He says, that's it, that's it. So the man says, great, I'm leaving. He gets up and leaves. And then he dies along the way. On one side, the angels of mercy come down to take him, and the other side, the angels of punishment come down to take him. And now they're having this discussion. The angels of mercy say, well, he did tawbah, he was leaving, he left his place. The angels of punishment say, yeah, but he never reached that place. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends a third angel as a hakam. He's going to mediate, he's going to make the decision between them. He says, here's the decision. Measure the distance from where he was leaving to where he died, and where he was going to where he died. If he is closer in proximity to where he was going, then the angels of mercy can take him. If he's closer in proximity to where he was leaving from, then the angels of punishment can take him. The decision has been made. But that man had made a genuine intention to change and has started moving towards that place where he believed he could become a better person. Now the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervenes. When a person does what is in their capacity. Remember, some of the stuff we're talking about seems just too difficult. It's just beyond my reach. This is too hard. I can't do all of this. You know what? Do what's in your capacity. If you genuinely try your best, the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come in and do that which you couldn't do with your own hands. It will complete the work for you. And that's what happened here. That while these angels are busy measuring, Allah's rahmah comes in. Allah commands the earth from this side to shrink and commands the earth from this side to expand. So when they measured him, in fact, he had died closer to his place of origin. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the ground shrink from the other side, expand from this side. So when they measured, they found him closer to his destination. We do what's in our capacity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring in His rahmah and make up for our weaknesses, because there are weaknesses. Ashabul Kahf did the only one thing they had in their power to protect their iman, and that's, let's get away from here. And they only got as far as the cave. The story happens in Amman. Have any of you ever been to Amman? Have you visited the cave of Ashabul Kahf? How far is it from Amman? It's just on the outskirts of the city. They left in the evening. They got there in the middle of the night. They were dead tired. They said, okay, let's just sleep the night and we'll figure out what to do in the morning. They only got as far as that cave, which is right by their own city. But look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did after that. They said, we got to get out of here. These people will force us. They will force us to leave our deen. The only recourse we have is to get away from here. Let's go look for a better place. And then look at what kind of rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervened. All kinds of miraculous arrangements were made for them. Those people were not prophets, nor were they the children of prophets. They were just إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. They were just a group of youngsters who had iman. That's all they were. We are the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When we start making an effort, imagine what Allah will do for us. I'll tell you something. You have facilities like this, in which the facility, the institution is not the name of the building, that specific structure on that address. There's a work that is taking place there. There is an environment that is being cultivated and nurtured there. That's what is there to feed us, to quench us, to enrich us. The more time we spend in those environments, the first thing that happens is we're cut off from the bad environment by default. So by default, spending time in a place like this, spending time in a masjid, the minimum benefit is you are saved from the evils of the environment outside. And that's the beginning point. And from there you start growing and growing and growing and growing. You're bathing in this environment of rahmah, this environment of angels. And then as a plus, somebody is attending this course, somebody is attending that course, somebody is listening to a lecture, somebody is coming and volunteering and doing khidmah, somebody is coming and having their problem solved, somebody is coming and helping solve someone's problem, and the next thing you know, a community develops. And every human being needs to be part of a community. And being part of a community is not just about living in a certain area where there's a masjid or there's a school. Being a part of a community means you're a part of what happens there. If it's a masjid, you're a part of what happens in that masjid. If it's an educational institute, you are a part of what happens there in some capacity, either in the capacity of a learner or a teacher or a helper, a volunteer, a supporter. You are a part of it. Now you are a part of that community. And I cannot emphasize this enough. It used to be for Muslims living in the West. Now it's for Muslims living in any corner of the world. You attach yourselves, those who attach themselves to the masajid, they proportionately attach themselves to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the further people were removed from the masajid, the further they were removed from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I could share with you stories. The city that I grew up in is called Edmonton. The Sheikh has relatives in Calgary, so we're about 2.5 hours north of Calgary. Freezing cold, like -40, -50, okay? Some of the earliest Muslims that came to North America came to Edmonton. At the same time when settlers were coming from Ukraine, Muslims came from Asham, from Lebanon, and that region. I myself have seen graves marked, Muslims' graves marked dead in the late 1800s. The first masjid in North America was built in our city in 1935. Some of these people, the families that they were coming from, were families of some of the great scholars of the Middle East of that time. Their forefathers were families of shuyukh. I will not take their names out of respect for those great scholars. But the generations have been completely wiped out. There is no trace of Islam, no remnant of Islam in the progenies of those people. And we still meet people in our daily interaction. Someone says, yeah, I've got some Arab blood in me. Whenever they say that, it means I am a descendant of one of those families that came at that time as Muslims and then lost Islam, but I still know that I have some Arab blood in me. My great-great-grandfather was a Muslim. Attach yourselves to the houses of Allah. Attach yourselves to the madaris. Attach yourselves to Ahlul Ilm, and your attachment with deen will be cemented and solidified. The further you keep yourselves away, we've also seen people who've come from very, very religious backgrounds, but they did not keep themselves in that environment. It was only a matter of time before all of that was washed away. All of it was washed away. What happened to them? One environment was replaced with another environment. So this is not really a lecture, it's more like just a reminder for myself and for all of you that you need to become more occupied with your environment, your immediate, your home, and your external environment, and you need to get in the driver's seat and start taking control over as much of that as you humanly can. And then there is a chance that you will be saved, and there's a good chance that your future generations will be saved. But if you don't get in that driver's seat now, and you let the external environment dictate everything that you do, there will be very little of Islam left in us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you, keep you and your children and your future generations in His divine protection. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep you safe from every type of evil and harm. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable you and your communities to prosper both in worldly terms as well as in religious terms. We want our communities to progress and prosper in a worldly sense as well, so that institutions like Sheikh Ziyad's can also thrive and prosper. You have to, when a community is financially strong and stable, then you have strong and stable institutions. And those institutions then serve those communities for generations and generations and generations. So we want you to prosper in your worldly life, because we want these masajid, these Islamic schools, these institutions, we want them to prosper. And we want you to support them, not just with your finances, but we want you to support them with your presence. This is the most important thing. You come and you bring others. You come and you bring others. You create an environment for people to come and start bathing in this wonderful, wonderful ambience, in this wonderful environment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq. And we've come here. You come and visit us as well. Everyone is trying. It's nice to see that in different corners of the world, Muslims are all working towards the same thing, same goals, same objectives, same struggles and challenges. We're one ummah. We are all brothers in Islam. And our objectives are the same. And for us to be unified on haqq means that all of us are taking down batil together. There is no effort separately to remove batil. There's only one effort, and that is to bring haqq into existence. The moment haqq comes into existence, batil has no choice but to scurry away, to run away. وَجَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلِ. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakumullahu khairan. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.